The video shows Durk right in the middle of the action, supposedly making the key moves that helped the KEers pull off their attack. From rented cars to plane tickets, everything's rumored to be booked under his company's name, making it all look painfully obvious and maybe sealing his fate.
I don't think, and if he violates it, he's going to go to prison for 20. So I don't think we're going to see a plea deal, probation plea deal, and it wasn't a plea deal, it was an open plea, but I don't think we're going to see a plea like that in this case.
Now, in true internet fashion, Vlad from Vlad TV wasted no time in stirring the pot. He hopped onto X, calling Lil Durk dumb for supposedly getting a bunch of guys on a plane, only to mess it all up and hit the wrong person. Vlad said, "In multiple interviews, I've said that nobody would get on a plane to awful you. I said this because there would be so much evidence that they're guaranteeing prison. Well, today I was proven wrong." And then, with this case unfolding, he had to admit he was proven wrong. He went even further, saying Durk made a stupid move that's now got him and all 5 others facing either life sentences or possibly even the death penalty. In his words, Lil Durk was actually stupid enough to send 5 guys on a plane to off Quando Rondo. They ended up K-ing the wrong person, and now all 6 of them are facing life in prison or even the death penalty. And let's not forget that Durk and Vlad have a history of beef. Durk threw shade at Vlad in his 2022 track Golden Child, dropping a line that goes, "I don't speak tongues, period. I don't F with Vlad."
I don't speak tongues, period. I don't fuck with Vlad.
At the time, Vlad claimed he was clueless about why Durk had taken aim at him, but DJ Academics later filled him in during a 2023 interview, spilling that it had to do with an interview where Vlad let slip something about Durk's then-partner India's pregnancy. Durk had supposedly asked him to cut it out, Vlad agreed, and then the clip aired anyway with the sensitive detail intact. So, safe to say, things have been icy ever since. So here's the scoop. Last month, Lil Durk got slapped with a charge for a member for hire tied to the death of Lil Pub, who just so happened to be Quando Rondo's cousin.
Rapper Lil Durk is charged in a murder for hire plot.
Lil Durk's real name is Durk Bank, and he is from Chicago. This is his mugshot from Florida, where he was arrested last night and is being held without bond.
And the story swirling around is that back in 2022, the real target was actually Quando himself, but things went sideways, and his cousin got caught in the chaos. Fast forward to Friday, Nov 8, and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California dropped a bombshell with a new indictment that throws even more charges at Durk. Originally, he was charged with 1 count related to murder for hire, but now he's facing 2 extra charges, one for conspiracy and another for handling firearms, including a machine gun, in the alleged setup that took Lil Pub's life.
We have as well. So Grammy award-winning Chicago rapper Lil Durk has been charged in a superseding indictment alleging murder for hire plot.
The U.S. Attorney, Martin Estrada, didn't hold back either. He straight up called Durk the mastermind behind a ruthless hit, a hit that tragically claimed the life of someone connected to his rival. And as if that wasn't enough, the shooting went down right in the open, at a gas station on a busy street, putting everyone around in serious danger. Estrada made it clear that they're bringing the hammer down hard on violent crimes like this, because in his words, there's zero tolerance for anyone that would unleash such reckless violence on the streets. But Lil Durk isn't facing this alone. He's got 5 other guys wrapped up in this mess with him. Kayvon London Grant, DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, Keith Jones, David Bryan Lindsay, and Asa Houston. All 5 were picked up in Illinois and are now waiting to be shipped out to California, while Durk himself was arrested on October 24 near Miami Airport, right as he was about to jet off to Italy. Now he's cooling his heels at Miami's Federal Detention Center, also waiting to be extradited to Los Angeles. Authorities claim these 5 allegedly cashed in on Durk's so-called bounty after figuring out Quando's Los Angeles location. Allegedly, 4 of the suspects booked flights to LA on credit cards somehow tied to Durk's label Only the Family, and rumor has it Durk even flew to the city on a private jet alongside one of the suspects, Grant, just in time for the incident to unfold. Word on the street is that the real drama hasn't even started yet. Apparently, once the court hearings kick off, we're looking at an all-out snitch fest, and it's already begun behind the scenes with rumors that some people are wasting no time throwing each other under the bus just to save themselves. And the first name to surface in all this? None other than rapper King Yella, since fans quickly remembered that he'd once been caught up in some drama with Durk that landed in the hands of the police, even though Yella has always been super vocal about the fact that he's not one to snitch. Then there's Brick Baby, who started drawing attention because he recently claimed that Quando actually reached out to him, suspecting some kind of setup. And fans were quick to notice Brick Baby's reaction when he was on No Jumper Live, looking noticeably uneasy while talking about Durk's recent arrest, which, of course, only got people more suspicious and sent rumors into overdrive. But here's where things get really wild. There's talk of a third person who might be the actual snitch in this whole ordeal. And who is it, you ask? Rumor has it it's none other than OTF Jam. Yeah, you read that right. Apparently, Jam's now the #1 suspect for tipping off the police. And get this, there's even buzz that he might have worn a wire at some point, which would be a game changer if true. Imagine that. A twist straight out of a crime drama. And as if all this isn't crazy enough, some police files have leaked online, pulling Durk even deeper into this whole mess. Out of the 5 suspects allegedly involved in the revenge hit, 3 of them, Didi, Vonnie, and Boogie, already had their mugshots splashed everywhere. And these guys aren't just some random associates. They were reportedly super close to King Von, spotted in countless pictures together buying jewelry and basically hanging out all the time. So now, the fact that they were tight with both Von and Durk is just pouring gasoline on an already explosive situation.
Hey, big fan. We just looked at him. Let's go over there. What up, bro? Boss, you good? My boy. Let's go. They got real in here, man.
So you know, this whole fiery feud really all goes back to that tragic night when King Von lost his life, and ever since then, it feels like Lil Durk and his OTF crew have had their sights locked on Quando Rondo and his circle, who in a lot of people's eyes are tied to what happened to Von, mainly because Quando's got those close connections with NBA Youngboy's crew. At first, Quando actually tried to keep things from spiraling out of control. He even reached out to Lil Durk privately, hoping to calm things down before they got too heated, but from what's been reported, Durk wasn't in the mood to just let things slide like that, and he even went as far as buying up venues where Quando was supposed to perform, which really hit Quando's pockets hard, forcing him to back out of a bunch of big shows. So when Quando finally realized Durk wasn't letting up anytime soon, he decided to go all in with a track called Soul Reaper, and in that song he didn't hold back at all, throwing in some seriously intense lines like "They like Durk, he a singer, he won't smoke you can believe whatever you want, I got your folks hit," which made it clear to everyone that he was ready to face this conflict head on. No more backing down from what had already turned into a real beef.
They like Durk, his ass a singer, he won't smoke shit. You can bleed whatever you want, I got your folks hit.
And the wild part is that even though this tension was simmering, Durk actually kept things pretty low-key on the public side for a while, which left fans wondering what his next move was. But according to rumors, it sounds like he was busy making some behind-the-scenes moves, maybe even lining up some financial support for those who were loyal to Von, potentially offering rewards for anyone willing to go after revenge. Then, when Quando's close friend Lil Pob was sadly taken out at a gas station, it seemed like Durk might have referenced it in a song where he dropped a line like, "They like Durk, he a singer, he won't smoke you can believe whatever you want, I got your folks hit." And fans instantly picked up on this, thinking he was indirectly claiming some kind of responsibility, or at least sending a pretty strong message that he wasn't about to take things lightly.
They like Durk, his ass a singer, he won't smoke shit. You can bleed whatever you want, I got your folks hit.
Of course, Quando wasn't about to let that slide either. He fired back even harder, bringing up Von directly and calling out Von's sister in his track Want Me Dead, where he threw down lines like, "My favorite op dead sister talk too much, no I don't like the B." Lil Timmy rolled her brother up, got stepped on in some Nike kicks, which were definitely some of the most direct shots he's taken at Von and his family, turning this whole situation into one seriously intense back and forth.
My favorite up dead sister talk too much, no I don't like the tell me roll a brother, got stepped on in some Nike kid.
But it wasn't long before Durk fired back. He didn't stay quiet for too long. He jumped on a feature for a Babyface Ray track and took a pretty intense shot at Quando, poking at him over Lil Pop's passing. And the line he chose was bold. He referenced Quando's raw reaction, rapping, "You look on the news and see your son screaming no no." And it hit hard because at that point, nearly everyone online had already seen that viral clip of Quando, completely devastated, crying and shouting on the sidewalk after hearing the tragic news about Pob's death. Now, if we take a look at the lead up to what went down with Lil Pob, it all started on that trip to LA on August 18th, where Quando Rondo had just touched down with his crew, which included his sister and his cousin Lil Pob. Like a lot of rappers, Quando made sure to follow the unspoken rule of tapping in with the local contacts for added safety because, let's be real, being high profile in LA can come with serious risks. Given his affiliations with a Crip set in LA, it was natural for him to reach out to trusted people there for backup. We don't know the exact details of who he connected with, but in this world, it's standard to link up with your own set when you're in their city just as a precaution. But from there, things took a dark turn really fast because shortly after Quando did his check-in, it seemed like OTF and Lil Durk's people somehow had all his info down cold. They reportedly had everything, from his current location to his hotel, his schedule, the whole deal. How exactly OTF managed to get all those details is still kind of a mystery. Was it just a lucky coincidence, or did somebody purposefully leak Quando's moves? Regardless of how it happened, once Quando's plane touched down in LA, OTF apparently had eyes on every single thing he was doing. And once they got a handle on Quando's whereabouts, OTF's crew didn't waste a second. They started moving like clockwork, with flights, rental cars, and even private jets booked at lightning speed to get there in time. And there's a reason for this urgency that goes beyond coincidence. Word on the street is there was a bounty out for Quando, allegedly funded by someone known as Co-Conspirator 1, who's supposedly the main bankroller behind this operation, and fans are putting 2 and 2 together, assuming that Co-Conspirator 1 has got to be Lil Durk himself, considering his influence, resources, and high rank in OTF, and all the expenses that popped up. They're reportedly covered by credit cards linked to OTF, flights, hotels, rental cars, you name it, which has led people to believe that this was a meticulously planned revenge operation, organized to a level way beyond anything random.
We believe that Co-Conspirator 1 seems to be aiming at somebody who's a boss within the OTF organization that could call that could put money up and also promise music opportunities. Aiming at someone who would be Durk or could be Durk's brother who passed. But the only person living will be Durk. It could be Durk.
So when OTF's crew hit LA, they didn't waste a second. Everything was set up like clockwork. They got their cars lined up, checked into hotel rooms, grabbed the ski masks and firearms, and they kept all their texts and calls in code to stay off anyone's radar. After a bit of planning, they gathered close to Quando's hotel, keeping tabs on his every move down to the exact times and places he'd be that day so they knew just when to strike. Then came the day they'd been gearing up for. The ambush. Quando was riding in a black Escalade, and they were following him in a white BMW, blending in and tailing him without him ever noticing what was coming. It wasn't until they both pulled into a gas station that things went down for real. OTF's people parked nearby, jumped out, and unleashed a round of shots. The heartbreaking twist was that Quando was still inside the Escalade, but his cousin, Lil Pob, happened to be outside at that moment, and he's the one who got caught in the crossfire while Quando himself ended up walking away unscathed. In a way, the whole plan had backfired since the real target, Quando, made it out without a scratch, but sadly, his cousin wasn't so lucky and didn't survive.
Shots fired, a fight taken to the streets, and this chaotic scene, the ending of a shooting that started in Los Angeles, California. Sheriff's deputies pulling out a man who had been shot in an SUV. Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, a passenger in that car, frantic at the sight.
After the hit, OTF's crew gathered up at a food spot to hash out the finances. There they went over who'd get what, how the payout would split, and once everything was divvied up, they didn't hang around. They hightailed it back to Chicago right after everything was settled. Now, Durk had been careful to keep himself completely disconnected from any direct ties to the operation. He reportedly made it crystal clear to his team, saying something like, "Listen, even if you're using OTF credit cards, don't book anything under my name, my family's name, or anyone remotely close to me," because his whole game plan was to stay far from any paper trail that could point back to him. And what's interesting is that the only reason we know he gave this specific instruction to Co-Conspirator 3, who people are now guessing might be cooperating with the feds, is that this same person was actually in charge of booking a private jet for OTF. Durk made his message loud and clear. No names, no ties, nothing that could lead back to him, keeping himself way out of the picture. When the crew got back, it was another OTF member, likely OTFD, who handled the final payouts to keep Durk's name clean, making sure everyone involved got their share and stayed silent. For a while, it seemed like the operation had gone smoothly, everything on lockdown, but then someone started talking, and that's when OTF Jam stepped into the spotlight. So here's the lowdown on Jam. He had a rough start, getting arrested for attempted MDR at just 17 and doing a 12-year stretch before he finally got released in March 2022, just a few months before Lil Pob's tragic death. Now, while we don't know all the details of Jam's exact involvement, he was definitely close to OTF and played some kind of role in what happened. At first, everything seemed to be falling perfectly into place after the hit. Everyone had been paid. Fans were none the wiser, and it looked like OTF had pulled off a flawless operation. But just a few months later, in March 2023, Jam got picked up on a gun charge, and with the possibility of another long sentence looming over him, he wasn't about to go down without a fight. That's when he started talking to the feds, piecing together enough details to give them a roadmap of what went down, which was just what they needed to start building a serious RICO case. With Jam now cooperating, the feds were able to connect the dots they'd been chasing for a while. They began to map out who had made the calls, who was in the car, who had booked the flights. All those details that had been hard to trace were suddenly within reach.
Lil Durk got reportedly snitched on by OTF Jam. He allegedly wore wire for multiple years.
And interestingly enough, Durk apparently saw some of this coming. Rumor has it, he expected the feds might move in and try to make arrests, possibly even at his own birthday bash concert in Chicago, but the feds held back that night, probably to avoid drawing attention at such a big event. Then, just days later, the arrests started rolling in, all pointing back to the case around Lil Pob's MDR. Now, with the feds armed with more evidence than ever, Durk's facing serious heat. Even though he's managed to keep his name out of the official paperwork, the pressure is on like never before, and it's anyone's guess if he'll find a way out of this mess, or if this might just be the one case that finally catches up with him for good.